Good morning, Hugh.
Good morning, Joe. Good morning, Philly. Listen, don't say or do something today that could potentially get you fired. That's the advice for me.
Well, that's a good advice for all of us with microphones in front of us for a lot of the day. Yeah, and
I was thinking about Jerry Jones yesterday. I'm just like,
that's true.
I don't give a shit.
Don't say nothing to get you fired.
Good idea. And we're going to have a lot of on-air time today. Hugh and I doing this show now, obviously, and then lead up to the Phillies game this afternoon. Back on tonight for draft coverage from Lincoln Financial Field. And that's top of mind this morning. The Philadelphia Eagles, this draft, the 22nd pick, but all of the rumors out there say the Eagles are not going to stay at 22, that Howie Roseman is looking to trade up. He's talking moving up. He's calling all the teams in front of him. And the question is, what is he going up for? And what should he be going up for? Couple interesting things this morning here on WIP. First, Howard Eskin talking about the potential for a trade up and what they could be after.
Is there a rumor? No, I think those are the positions. The position of offensive line and corner are the positions that the Eagles really want. Now, if they get to 22 and nothing can happen, they're going to take the best player available. And that's,
you say if they get to 22, how likely is it that they trade up?
Oh, I think there's a 70% chance they at least 70%.
Wow. At least 70.
Whoa. Yes.
Book it.
Yes.
Well, that's a big number.
Whoa.
Big number.
Whoa.
Howard feeling a trade up tonight. So we heard Howard there. He said O-line corner. A lot of these mocks have either O-line corner. Elliott also on the morning show talking about what they could be trading up for tonight.
So I think the biggest smokescreen going around right now is that the Eagles want to trade up for a cornerback. Now, will they take a cornerback at 22? Could they move up to 20 to take one? Sure, maybe. But I think going into tonight, if the Eagles trade up, it'll be for an offensive lineman and not for a cornerback. I think the special players in this draft are on the offensive line. They're not at cornerback. And the one thing I've consistently heard and consistently believed since the season ended is that in this draft, they want an offensive lineman. So we'll see how the draft falls. It's one of the more unpredictable drafts that I've covered. But the one thing I feel confident in is that they're prioritizing offensive line over cornerback tonight.
And I think that's the right way to go. Here's where I'm at 215-592-9494. If the Eagles trade up tonight, I would rather trade up for an offensive lineman rather than a cornerback for a couple reasons. One, the Eagles are just better at drafting offensive linemen. I just trust them drafting an offensive lineman. And if they're trading up, you're giving an extra asset to move up to wherever they go, 12, 15, I don't know, whatever pick they move to. I just trust their evaluation of offensive linemen way more than I do Howie's evaluation of seeing young corners. So I think they have a better shot to hit the pick if it's an offensive lineman. And the way I see this is if they're going to trade up, all right, go get a stud offensive lineman. I could just sit at 22, and I think there'll be a corner there that could play, whether it be Kool-Aid McKinstry, Cooper DeJean, Nate Wiggins. I'll just sit at 22 and take the corner if I'm going to take a corner. If they're trading up, I would rather trade up for the offensive lineman. It's a big hole on the roster. There's questions of depth behind what they have, and they just lost. I'll make it as simple as this. The best player they lost this offseason was on the offensive line. So I'm okay if they prioritize moving up to secure another good offensive lineman. Hugh, what do you think? It sounds like they're trying to move up. What would you rather move up for, corner or O-line?
You know what? Between the choices you gave me, the only offensive player I want is the one that catches the football or Brock Bowers. Those are the only two I want. So with this choices that you gave me, Joe, I definitely want a corner. I want the sexy pick. Offensive lineman does not move the meter for me. I understand everything that you're saying, but with all the weapons that we have and everything, I feel like this offensive line is good enough to protect Jalen Hurts. I understand when you're talking about, Jason Kelce being gone and all of this stuff. But if I'm going to move all the way up, I need somebody that's going to get this fan base excited. I need that sexy pick. If you move all the way up there to like 12 to 15, I need a corner.
So you're telling me it's not going to be exciting if they draft Fuaga or Fontanu at number 12?
Not at all.
Well, you know what? Listen,
you know what some of the best offensive linemen are? The ones you hear nothing about.
You're right about that. Well, Siri's in on this. You're right about that. It doesn't have to be a sexy pick to be an offensive lineman, but I don't care about that. Like, it's not going to make me any more excited if they take someone cool tonight. I want them to win football games in September. When they go to Brazil and play the Packers, I need to make sure they can block for Jalen Hurts. I got you and Kyle Every telling me how much offense matters. Offense. Well, you know what? Saquon Barkley's not going to work well, or to the extent we want him to, if they can't block up front. I think offensive line right now is as thin as I've seen the Eagles' offensive line in a very long time.
I hear you, but I think it's functional.
But functional's not going to win a Super Bowl.
I think functional can win the Super Bowl. I think it really can. And I think what we're looking for now is either some help at the corner spot, if we go with a young guy, between the two choices that you gave me, or another pass catching entity, whether that be tight end, well, I should say tight end, Brock Bowers, or receiver, because that's the guy that I want. I want Brock Bowers.
So here's where I'm at on this. I and you've heard me say a lot, defense. But if I'm trading up, I'm getting an offensive lineman. I could just sit at 22 and take a corner. The way we've gone all through a million mock drafts. We had our mock off yesterday. All these mock drafts, McKinstry's there at 22, Nate Wiggins is there at 22, my guy Cooper DeJean is there at 22. I think the Eagles could just sit at 22 and get a starting level NFL defensive back and be fine. If I'm trading up, which means probably surrendering one of the second-round picks, well, then I want a high-level offensive lineman. And everyone keeps saying this might be one of the best offensive line classes in a very, very long time. 215-592-9494. All right, let's get on the record here. It is draft day for the Philadelphia Eagles. They hold the 22nd pick. Now, very few people actually think they're going to use the 22nd pick. I mean, Howie's moved around in almost every draft. He does move around in every draft. He's moved around in almost every first round. And I'd be basically shocked if they just sit there and draft at 22. I think they're going to move up tonight. And if they don't, I could see them moving back just to gain a little bit more value. I think a trade is very likely. And if I'm moving up, and it seems like the two positions they're targeting here is corner or offensive line, I'd rather move up for the offensive lineman. If I'm surrendering a pick, give me a position that is probably a bigger need right now on the offensive line, secures more depth on the offensive line. And I know this sounds simplistic, but I just trust them to draft an offensive lineman more. Hugh, they haven't drafted corners well under Howie. I mean, they really have not. I mean, it's a little scary to me to trade up for a corner when I don't know if Howie could evaluate corners.
Man, listen, if you're moving up, the corners that you had to pick if you're moving from anywhere from 12 to 13, I think that's a no-brainer. And I think if you're trying to get one of the good corners, if you're trying to get the young man from Toledo, then that's what you should do, Quinyon Mitchell. Then that's where you probably need to be to get that guy. So I don't have a problem with – you can't mess that up. That's one of the ones you call unmessupable.
Howie proof?
Yeah. There you go. We can – that'll work. Or hoobalooba.
Whatever you want to call
thanks,
it.
Kyle. Yeah, that works too. Either one of those. It's on that. It's on that. Whatever that was. It's on that.
215-592-9494. If the Eagles are trading up tonight, should they trade up for a corner or an offensive lineman? What would you rather? Kyle, what do you got as we are – well, I'll just put it this way. If they stay at 22, they'll be picking about 12 hours from now. If they move up, they probably have made a pick already 12 hours from now.
And thank God that we're only 12 hours away, because I'm getting sick of everyone being Mr. Smarty Pants. The draft is for the future, building blocks.
It is.
Offensive lineman. Shut up. There are 7 rounds in the draft. And
with that voice, that's what they're doing.
The Eagles have like 9 picks in this draft, right? 7 rounds. There are so many other rounds where you can build the depth on the offensive line, okay? Your best opportunity in the draft to get both a guy that's going to help you a couple years down the line and a guy that can make an immediate impact is in the first round. So I think use one of your day 2, day 3 picks to get an offensive lineman that's going to compete for the interior, the guard. It might be a tackle of the future. Okay. The Eagles are better at evaluating offensive linemen in the draft. To your point, Joe, they're not good at evaluating corners. So why not trade up and give them the best opportunity to get the best corner on the board? If they're so much better at evaluating O-line than corner, then wait and get one later. I don't understand this fascination with everybody's outsmarting themselves. The Eagles built through the trenches, get a guard. Okay, you can do that in any of the other rounds. Go up and get the best corner, position of need, guy that's going to be on the field and make an immediate impact.
Well, I don't think it's outsmarting. My position is this. The 2 recent Super Bowl teams we've seen the Eagles have, they've been awesome offensive lines. I mean, I think we're just keeping it simple. They've been awesome offensive lines in 17 and in 22. Think about the corners they've got to Super Bowls with. I mean, Slay's a good player. They traded for him. They got Bradbury, who was cut in May of that year. James Bradbury was cut in May of the year they went to the Super Bowl. They got him in here. And think about the 17 team. They traded for Ronald Darby in August, and the other corner was Mills, a 6th-round pick. Like, the Eagles haven't had first-round pick corners running around the field when they get to Super Bowls.
Well, they let up 500 yards
Yeah,
in that
yeah.
Super Bowl
Here
with
we
that
go.
ridiculously awful
Yeah, I'm
second.
just
This
saying.
is my favorite thing. As we forget, they dominated
Well, Joe,
defensively to get to the Super Bowl.
Go through the offensive line that you're talking about that was in the Super Bowl, and where did the Eagles take all of those guys in the draft?
I understand, but they were great players.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And
Jason
the
Peters
Eagles
turned into a
found
great
great
player.
players in later rounds.
I got you. 215-592-9494. That is how you hop in. All right, it sounds like everyone is in on the idea of a trade-up. All the analysts, all the rumors are the Eagles are likely to trade up. Howard has it as a 70% chance they trade up tonight. Well, if they're going up, what do you want, corner or offensive lineman? Those seem to be the positions everyone is talking about.